Today, I am very excited to welcome our newest guest to Flare Podcast. She is one of the leading conductors of her generation, and I have the very big fortune of calling her a close friend. Her name is Anna Handler. She has conducted the LA Phil, the Boston Symphony Orchestra, the BBC Philharmonic. Actually, recently won a very important position with the German Opera of Berlin. That's going to be really, really exciting. She will also work with the musicians of the Berlin Philharmonic very, very, very soon. And she's going to be doing her Hollywood Bowl debut with music from one of our colleagues, Unika Tansil, which is going to be really exciting. And I'm just really happy also because she is of German and Colombian origin, which brings us together a lot because we speak in Spanish. But she's simply a wonderful human being, a wonderful musician, a very good friend. And we are very, very excited to have you here on Flare Podcast. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much, Horacio. Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Mucho
Thank you.
gusto.
Let's open with a straight question. I would like to know, what is your earliest musical memory? Let's start things off by talking about your early childhood.
That's a beautiful question. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to when my sister was born, my sister Laura. Mm-hmm. My mom tells us that when I held her in my hands, I sang a lullaby to Laura. Uh-huh. And our journey began singing together.
Yeah.
As music is something embodied, something vocal, and something shared. Mm-hmm. Something very intuitive.
Yeah.
And feeling the harmony between us. Yeah. Because I was trained from a very early age on to find the harmony underneath the melody, because my voice is deeper than my sister's.
Oh, that's true.
So we then won a competition, something similar like The Voice Kids, but in Bavaria, our department.
Yeah.
And it was called The Angel Voices.
And
a competition that was founded by Enrico de Paruta, a TV speaker who told the Christmas story by Ludwig Thoma, who's a German national poet, every year.
Yeah.
And we were the Angel Voices. And then we recorded CDs with him, appeared in television for Christmas.
Oh, so you worked a lot with them. Like you were doing professional stuff like from an early age.
Yeah, we were at the end 9 and 7 when that happened. But before that, of course, we sang Christmas carols with my mother in Spanish and also in German.
Yeah.
My father's family is also, I would say, intuitively musical. My mother's family as well, from Colombia.
Yes.
But there were no professional musicians in the family.
I see. So your mother is Colombian, your father is German, and you are how much older? 2 years older than Laura?
Yes, okay. 2 years older. I was born in 96 and she was born in 98.
Yeah. So do you recall what it was like to suddenly have a little sister? Well, maybe you were too young for that, right? But you've always had this role of the big sister, which makes me think of kind of a leadership role. Usually our younger siblings will look up to us.
Right.
I don't know if you felt that growing up, that you had to be like a really good girl because you had to be a good example to your sister. Did that ever happen to you?
Yes, absolutely. I always felt the need to protect her as well.
Beautiful.
As you say, be a role model, be strong, behave. And as it is in life, sometimes these roles also switch. There were moments where she was stronger. I remember this first competition experience.
Yeah.
My voice was always deep.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I had difficulties to go high.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the technique back then. We had like singing lessons in where we grew up in Nuestro Pueblo. And I really recall that in this early competition, I felt so insecure that I could not go high up.
Yeah.
And she went high up.
Yeah.
And I was trained to sing and find the harmony underneath, either the third or the sixth, or, which later then trained me to find the right harmonical progressions. But in that moment, I felt so insecure because I thought, why can I not go up? I didn't know yet about the diaphragm technique and so on. And she held my hand and Yeah,
That's wonderful.
She sang it with me, and
Yeah.
we won this first prize together.
Yeah, and this reminds me of something we were talking about earlier about how music teaches us how to endure tension.
Right.
And this is a really good example because in music we have polyphony, we have dissonances, and that's what makes the music much better.
Yeah.
Right.
We tolerate polyphony and we perceive contrasts.
Exactly. That's what it's about. And I think that your life has a lot of contrast. Latino family, also German family, very different cultures. What would you say are things that you take from your German heritage and Colombian heritage that feeds into your music making? What part of you is like Latina? What part of is German?
Well, in general, I try to find common ground, of course, which means like I see differences and I just acknowledge them. Yeah. I don't judge. I think it's very important to stay neutral. But of course, it's like a toolkit that I have, right? I
Absolutely.
can, depending on the situation, decide which tool do I want to use in this situation. And what I really love about the South American mentality is the positivity, the gratefulness for being alive, the openness, la calidad, the warmness.
Yeah.
I feel very drawn to treating people warmly, to hug people, to see right inside their souls.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really love. When I'm in Colombia, I just feel a very warm environment. And of course, what I love about Germany and what I use too is the honesty.
Yeah. Yeah.
The courage to address important issues and also the curiosity and intelligence of the people.
That's amazing.
Yeah. There's a lot of beautiful values because Germany went through so much in history.
Absolutely.
I mean, being the country of enlightenment, of Goethe, Schiller, all of that, Kant.
Yeah.
And then going through so much nationalism.
Absolutely.
From before that rise of nationalism, being a very fragmented country, finding one voice and then being divided again. And now having to find one common ground again and finding one political direction that shows compassion. After having lived through so many things.
That's very profound because I think music and history is always about finding consonance when there's dissonance, right?
Or dissonance that resolves in consonance.
Exactly. There you go. So going back to your story, you started out singing and, always playing or singing with your sister. And she's a violinist, right?
Right.
And you're a pianist also. So I would like to imagine that your first relationship to music is through playing. I'd like to ask, when was the first time you saw conducting? When was the first time you noticed that there was this job of the conductor and what attracted you to it?
Well, music lives through the connection within people.
Yeah.
As I said, the vocal taught me that it's something embodied, something shared. And as a conductor, I try to listen, of course, first and foremost. Try to see the people in front of me and work with them.
Yeah.
So I think when I first saw a conductor, I was in the children choir of the Bavarian State Opera.
Okay.
So again, I continued the singing journey. And I saw the conductor from far away in the opera pit.
Yeah.
And I could not really understand what was going on. I just saw, okay, there are some symbols, some signals. And then my violin teacher at school, because I'm a pianist, of course, but I also learned the violin.
Yeah.
He saw some leadership qualities in me early on, and this desire to take responsibility for other people, to speak out for the weak, but also find peace among the strong.
Yeah.
And he encouraged me, or also provided me with some knowledge essential for conducting. For example, to read old clefs or to arrange music.
Yeah.
And he familiarized me with Leonard Bernstein's Young People's Concerts.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think that's a pivotal moment in a lot of musicians' careers. Like seeing the way he would express himself about music, his incredible leadership. I'm sure that was really, really inspiring for you.
Oh, yes. I mean, so many things become one inside of him.
That's
right?
amazing. Yeah.
The composing side, the playing, the conducting, the talking, the democratization.
Yeah.
And all these gifts that he had were things that I could align with in a way. I felt music is something social. Music is the glue between people. Music is a tool to unite. And I felt that I had to do something social in my life. I felt this mission very early on. Mm-hmm. Maybe because I went to Colombia so early on and I saw poverty, I saw injustice in some ways. Mm-hmm. And every time I walk by something like that, or in Germany or here or in any country, I feel like, what can I do to help? And well, for now, I chose music to do that.
Yes.
But of course, there could have been many other ways. But,
it's a very noble thing to choose. And I think music can really impact a lot of people's lives. I grew up in Mexico. And in Mexico, we have something called Orquesta Esperanza Azteca, which is very similar to El Sistema of Venezuela, where classical music, helps a lot of children through, playing in an orchestra and all that. Teaches wonderful, wonderful stuff. So it's really inspiring for me to hear that you wanted to be a conductor through that mission of helping. Absolutely. Because I would think that a lot of conductors would like to, a lot of musicians would want to be conductors because they want the recognition, being in front of the orchestra and not playing an instrument and actually getting paid more than everyone else. So
these are all the wrong reasons.
Those are all the wrong reasons. And I know lots of people who tell me, I want to be a conductor. And I'm always a little bit suspicious about that statement because why do you want to be a conductor? Right. What drives you to that?
Right. And, it's the same as if you say, I want to be a politician.
Exactly. That's exactly what I want to say.
Yeah. Or I want to be a priest. Mm-hmm. And I'm much prefer that priest example because at the end of the day, a priest also has to unite the community. People go there and they ask for guidance.
Yeah.
It's a form of therapy, a form of accompanying people through their inner pains.
Yeah.
It's someone you look up to.
Yes.
And someone you respect because of their integrity, but also their sacrifice. And that's someone like if you would be willing to sacrifice everything for the mission and for the group, there will be people who follow you.
It's amazing. Yeah. I'm so glad to hear that your heart is in the right place for sure. And that leads me to my next question. Which artists, living or historical, do you admire most and wish to emulate in terms of their career trajectory?
Well, right now there are two living composers who fascinate me a lot. One is John Adams and the other one is John Williams.
Two Johns.
The two Johns, the two American Johns who I had the honor and big gift to get to know both of them personally in the past 2 years.
Legends.
And both of them have always put their craft in the first place.
Yeah.
Not their egos, but their craft. And when you observe them, they write music every day. It's like Picasso who went into his studio every day to write something, to improve, to find out more about themselves.
Yeah.
There's a discipline to always continue to refine the craft and to go deeper and to go even more honest.
Yeah.
There's also Barbara Hannigan.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, she found her artistic voice in a beautiful way. And she embodies many different disciplines in once. She's a performer, she's a singer, she's a leader, she's a conductor, she's a visionary, as well as, of course, Antonio Pappano, Jurowski, Andres Nelsons, Gustavo Dudamel, Petrenko. Of course, I have some personal mentors as well.
Absolutely.
People who send me poems, who teach me in life, who recommend books to me. people from different disciplines. It's very important to me to have friends from different disciplines in life, like doctors, lawyers, mathematicians, economists, exchange thoughts and see how music can also touch their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Because music really is all-encompassing. Everyone listens to music, especially right now, right? Everyone is always listening to a soundtrack. Everyone has a soundtrack to their lives. So I really admire that way in which you also find that synergy with physicists and people with other in other areas. Because the work of the conductor is to unite all these people,
right?
And create something that's really, really worthwhile.
Yep.
And I want to ask you a little bit about your experience in the US. You were telling me earlier that at Juilliard you grew wings, right? So when did you make the decision to go from Germany to the US? What drew you to the school? Tell me a little bit about what you found there.
I look back at these past 4 years with an immense gratitude.
Yeah.
Juilliard believed in me, in my potential.
Absolutely.
And it helped me to nourish this potential, to help me believe in myself, to find my voice, find purpose, and believe in my mission. As I said, that music is something social and so nourishing for everybody's soul that it's we need to fight for it and give our very best to help it enter people's lives. And well, it was a deeply conscious, very enriching and formative chapter of my life. I came here with 25, so not too young, but the exact right age to absorb everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I was able to enter different classes and really take the most important knowledge for me at this time to sit in various different classes to see, okay, what is still missing? What do I need? In 2 years only, how much can I absorb? As much as possible, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm still in touch with many of the professors, and I'm so lucky because I was able to find the courage to actually connect with them on a human level. Maybe if I had been younger, I wouldn't have been able to really consciously process all this incredible offering that this school offers. Juilliard helped me to really jump to an international level.
Yeah, you were talking about the people that you work with. A lot of them I know that you first encountered at Juilliard. Like I think John Williams. I'm not sure if that was the first time you met him, but
it was the first time.
And also
Gustavo.
Oh, also Gustavo. Wow.
Gustavo as well. Yes.
Yeah. And it really helps to study in such a prestigious place, right?
It does. I have to say so. I mean, when I first applied to Juilliard, I must say it was an experiment. I didn't think that I had so many chances, but I had nothing to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought, well, I was always curious what's happening over the pond. In South America, in America, I was fascinated by this mentality of encouragement and of manifesting dreams,
entrepreneurship and all that.
Yeah, exactly. 4, 7 times, stand up 8, never give up. And this really encouraged me. And I thought, well, I have nothing to lose in applying. And I really found so much joy in the process of this application, to write the essays, to do
the essays.
Yeah, there was an essay about the artist as a citizen. What does it mean to you? And
big Juilliard mantra comes from Joseph Polisi, former president. Very important to us.
You also had to write that essay.
We all had to write that essay.
Exactly.
I didn't remember it, but I'm sure that you really sit down and poured your heart out.
Exactly. Yeah, I really thought about that, and it enriched my life. Even thinking about it, I was in Weimar at that time, at the University Franz Liszt at that time, doing my undergrad in conducting after doing my undergrad in piano before in Munich.
Yeah.
And well, I thought that, wow, these thoughts, they are so enriching, carrying them with me over 2-3 months of this application process, from September to December. I really took my time to fill out all these questions, to read them well, to do everything correctly, translate all my documents, and also do the TOEFL test, the English language proficiency test. It was during COVID, so I had more time.
True,
2020.
Yeah.
So it was also a very important time for me to recalibrate, to think, okay, where do I want to go with this? Do I want to stay in Germany for now continue the beaten path on the beaten path, which means like I could then go to an opera house, maybe become a repetitor, and then, you know, climb the ladder. Or would I follow the more entrepreneurial part that was always a part of me since I'm 17? I founded my first orchestra with 17.
Amazing.
We went to refugees homes, to elementary schools, all in the spirit of Bernstein, Beethoven, and people. So I thought, well, I have nothing. No matter what happens, it's meant to be. But as I said, I had a lot of joy and not much expectation. And so at that point, I wasn't even worried about the financial things, and I just had fun. And then they invited me to the live audition, and then I was like, oh, okay, now this is serious. So I'm going to put my all into it. And at the end, they gave me the Kofner Fellowship, which was a tremendous gift, because I didn't even know.
It covers the full expense of the tuition and board, so you basically didn't have to pay much to go to Juilliard. And I know that that's always something that is not very encouraging for international students. They think that everything in the US is super expensive, which it is, especially education. But, you know, this big gift just really allowed you to just focus on your craft, not have to think about the rent and all that.
Yeah.
That I'm sure that makes things easier.
Exactly. It was the most intense study period of my life until then, because I lived in Juilliard. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to shop groceries. I could spend all my day immersed in the scores, immersed in collaboration.
The community at large.
Observing other classes, dance classes, acting classes. I think I lived the most intense period of my life, and I'm... Let's talk a little bit about mentors, because talking about the Juilliard School, one of the biggest things is the teachers that you work with, and you worked with one of the US's most esteemed conductors, Maestro David Robertson. Tell me a little bit about what you look for in a mentor. What is something that helps you connect with them, and how, you know, what type of guidance did you find in the US at Juilliard and beyond, of course? David didn't see me through the lens of origin or gender.
That's great.
He saw me as Anna, as a curious soul that wants to improve. My motto is, don't show up to prove, show up to improve.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Don't show up to prove, show up to improve, which means no matter where you are in life, you can always do better. You can always be more profound. And I think David embodies that. He's someone who continues to study, continues to read, continues to search. And he shared that with us. This immense devotion to this craft and his depth. Well, he always taught us about energizing the silence, which means
energizing the silence.
Exactly. Wow. In our upbeat, the upbeat must contain the idea for the future sound, which means if I give you an upbeat, it must tell you how loud will the next beat be, what's the articulation, what's the expression, what's the meaning, what does this sound mean to you? Can you convey all this information in the upbeat?
Yeah.
Can I tell you like how to breathe in, how to gather the energy inside of you so that the right sound leaves your body?
Yeah, and it's so important, because with the conductors, everything is in the hands, in the body, in the physicality of it.
Right.
Because we're talking about really interesting stuff, and I just wonder how you translate all those wonderful ideas and the thoughts that you have in your head into the movement or like into the rehearsal. Can you talk to me about, you know, what is your process during a rehearsal with orchestras, and, you know, how do you put all those things into movement?
Well, yeah, it's a never-ending quest, but it all starts with a vision and an idea of how should this sound. And you develop this in your mind, and then you come to rehearsal, and this is reality, and this is your mind, and they become one.
That's good. Yeah.
So, of course, you come prepared with an idea, and then the orchestra offers something.
Mhm.
And you feel like, wow, okay, these are things that I haven't thought of. Or, yes, exactly. That's exactly how I thought again. It's like a conversation. You resonate, right? You listen, you receive, and you give.
That's it.
So I give energy, and when I turn to a certain energy, to a certain group, I direct my energy there, and everybody sees, everybody in the orchestra sees, oh, her attention is now with the first violins. Her attention is now with the violas or with the cellos. My focus shifts because, of course, my listening focus and my energy focus, and sometimes it's with everybody at once, but guiding through the energy flow. This is how I love to see this process, that I'm kind of like I'm touching the sound. I become the sound in a way.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
That's an amazing career for sure. We were talking a little bit before we started recording, and you said something that really stayed with me, that I really like. I would like for you to explain a little deeper. Ambiguity is not a weakness in music.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you?
Yes. So in music, ambiguity is not a weakness, it's a strength. And I see my role not in organizing the sound, but in opening spaces where people can encounter one another. An orchestra brings together so many different life stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's lived cosmopolitanism.
Mm-hmm.
And my own background helps me to not only manage that diversity, but to understand it. Sometimes we quickly judge things when they are unfamiliar to us, especially when they don't fit into our personal framework.
Yeah.
Instead of observing or asking or learning, we instinctively label things as right or wrong without realizing it.
Yeah.
So if we just go into a new situation and we observe, we don't judge, we acknowledge, and we actually feel this tension and work with it, we endure the polyphony.
Yeah.
We celebrate the contrasts. Well, that's something that I would love to help to nourish in a way. Not only organize the sound, but to really create spaces where people from all different places in life can encounter one another.
Absolutely.
Creating space where there's trust, where voices are heard, but also where people have the courage to open up deeply emotionally. Because at the end of the day, music is translating emotions into sound.
Yeah.
And if a person cannot open up because they feel oppressed by the conductor or they don't feel comfortable in the group, well, as I said, as a priest, as a leader, you find the key to their heart. You make them feel safe and seen and heard, and that might lead to a very intimate music making. That might lead that these people actually find their voice and they give 5% more of their inner willingness. It's like a school of fish. Of course, we move together, but still, every little fish has an individual character, right?
Yeah,
seeing that character, acknowledging it, seeing our differences, but then finding one common ground is like, why are we all here?
Yeah.
Together today? What's our mission? How can that align? But this is lived cosmopolitanism.
That makes me think about how the role of the conductor has been changing throughout the years. Not long ago, we had this vision of the conductor as the big maestro, this like big tyrant who had to be obeyed. And it sounds like you are very much subscribed to this new wave of conductors whose approach is a lot more personal, more nurturing. Do you consider yourself
absolutely
like
almost
that?
Like a healer?
Like a healer,
yeah. I see a lot of spiritual energy in all of this. I recently came across the love letters of Beethoven.
Oh, great! Tell me about that. Yeah,
and I was fascinated reading them. I mean, did you know that Beethoven was 31 when he wrote his testament?
Or what was it called again?
Heiligenstädter Testament. Yeah. It is a letter to his brothers.
Yeah.
Where he tells them, well, I just received this not deadly, but for an artist, deadly diagnosis. My hearing loss will increase. It's irreversible. So I will lose my hearing, essentially. So
it's horrible.
It's horrible.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, exactly.
That news.
And with 31, like
pretty close to your age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm turning 29 next week, but it's really that same age where he was walking across the fields and he couldn't see or couldn't hear the flutist playing. And he endured until he was 56. I mean, what kind of strength, right? Like resilience. Like he really proves that no matter what fate has in store for you, we should not give up.
Such an amazing story.
Incredible story.
It's no wonder why Beethoven is the most famous classical musician of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that story is so inspiring.
It is so inspiring, and I feel every time I feel weak, I look at him and I think, wow, if I can only have a little bit of this strength, I mean, I can.
It's inspiration for you.
So much inspiration, but I mean, he told his brothers, please, after my death, tell the world that I had this hearing problem, but only afterwards. Tell them why I was grumpy all the time. Because I could not participate in conversation. He had this little notebook where people would write things to him. But imagine, like, the sentences are so long. What will you write? You will only write the most essential because communication is much slower.
Yeah.
You have time to think, what is this person truly thinking?
And richer. There's a lot of subtext that things are not being said.
Exactly. Yeah. And also then, imagine the beginning of Beethoven's 9th Symphony. Pianissimo. He could not hear that. It was all in his mind. So I think about that, and then I read his love letters to the immortal beloved.
Yeah.
Which is probably a concept. I mean, like...
Probably a concept.
Yeah, like a concept, like a person that did not exist, maybe even. It doesn't matter who she was, right?
Yeah.
Like we can speculate, but he writes...
Arguably, all love is speculatory. All love is fantasy.
Right, yeah.
But what did they say?
He says, I mean, they are longer, but one thing that really stuck with me is like, you have made me the happiest and unhappiest person at the same time.
So intense.
I cannot live without you. Like I have to be with you or not at all. I will wander through this world kind of aimlessly until I find myself in your arms. And these are things, when you read them, they are very intense.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they were written in moments of despair and hopelessness, but it shows us a very vulnerable side. And it teaches me to think, well, it's okay to feel this heartbreak. It's okay to feel a lot.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful to have this range of emotions as an artist, but also in humanity itself, to not suppress it, not to numb it, but to feel it and to release it in music.
Yeah.
Right? Really to translate this into this. And
that's amazing. I love it. Yeah. I love what you said about Beethoven telling his brothers not to tell the world that he was going deaf. Because as soon as people knew and like people said it, people would be like, "Oh, poor Beethoven." There would be this pity.
On who knows what this music is like because he couldn't really hear it. Yeah.
It would have been used against them. Exactly. And famously, I'm not sure if this is true. You can tell me, but apparently during the premiere of the 9th Symphony, there was like another conductor behind actually conducting. Right? You know if that's true?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, they say that he finished a bit later than everybody else because he was hearing it in his head. That could be. I mean, I wasn't there, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter because what matters is if we look at the Ode to Joy. I mean, the 9th Symphony.
Yeah.
The first 3 movements are almost one symphony of its own, and then he literally says this first baritone solo means, "O Freunde, nicht diese Töne, lasst uns jetzt was anderes machen. Oh, amigos, ya escuchamos demasiada música en los primeros 3 movimientos. Ahora hablemos un idioma que todos podamos entender.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So
this is Beethoven.
Yes.
And then Schiller poem starts. So he says basically, well, we have heard enough and probably it was too difficult to understand, too intellectual. But now we are going to speak a language that everybody can speak.
Yeah.
It's about this ode to joy. And Joy, the goddess that lives in Elysium, that's her. She is the glue between people. Joy is what connects a king to a servant.
Wow. You're blowing my mind. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. In joy, we find a connection that is maybe a utopia. But everything in Beethoven is a utopia. It's always direction forward, enlightenment. Did you know that he actually carried this poem by Schiller since he was 18 years old with him?
Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah. He carried it for a very long time with him until he actually put it into music.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
but I think of this as an inspiration because I think, okay, how can we make this world a place where Beethoven would say we're closer to brotherhood, we're closer to so many things.
Yeah, I think everyone should at least once in their life have a German explain Beethoven and Ode to Joy to you. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience. I want to keep going with some questions, but let's take a little break. I'll just check if everything's going fine.
Right.
But so let's take a little break, okay?
Yeah.
So I really wanted to ask you about your T-shirt. It's it's a painting from Basquiat, right?
Right. It's Jean-Michel Basquiat, and
tell us about it.
It's an artist that I admire a lot, and hope one day to have one of his artworks in my home. He is an inspiring artist that lived unapologetically, vulnerably, courageously in a time where, black painters still also were emerging, and he felt very deeply, and instead of hiding his inner world, he channeled it into raw and explosive arts. And as Beethoven, another hero.
Another hero. There you go. And now, just moving forward a little bit, I'd like to ask you about what's going on now, because you recently were appointed as assistant director of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Huge gig. So, exiting the Juilliard years, I'd like to ask you about how that experience was to actually apply for a job or a position in such a prestigious institution. What were some surprises that you saw along the way?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Well, after Juilliard, I became a Dudamel Fellow. So Dudamel had come to Juilliard, and I had support from agents already who discovered me through videos. So, of course, as you know, as a musician, as a performer, you always put up videos on Instagram. So I was actually also discovered through an Instagram video.
Which one? Do you remember?
That was the Die Fledermaus by Strauss, my first lab orchestra performance.
Okay, yeah.
I actually just uploaded a little clip, and someone saw it and was like, wow,
really?
I want to recommend you to my agent.
Was a musician? A musician too?
Another musician. And amazing. Very generous one. And another conductor and violinist.
Yep.
And this agent then saw it and then asked for the full video and wanted to meet me. And
incredible.
Yeah, and then kind of help me because it's sometimes hard to apply for these positions by yourself. You can write emails to the administrations and present yourself, of course, with your video material, but they receive a lot of information, like labels, right? And agents. So filtering through that, sometimes it helps when different people talk about the same person. And different people support this person. So in my case, the stars aligned, and I became a Dudamel Fellow, which was an incredible experience. I loved every moment in Los Angeles with the musicians, with Gustavo and all the guest conductors. I did chamber music with the musicians too as a pianist, and tried to also see the community in Los Angeles, the Spanish-speaking community. And yeah,
I'm sure you felt right at home.
Yeah, I truly, I mean, this mix of cultures was just like my home.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I was extremely thankful to be there, and I'm so happy to return for Hollywood Bowl, but also for subscription next season. Also,
congratulations!
Thank you so much.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you. And well, then of course after the Dudamel Fellowship, actually for the Boston Symphony Orchestra audition, that's also something where you need to be introduced, or your videos need to find their way to the administration. So you can send your videos, of course, to the administration at the Boston Symphony Orchestra, to the artistic vice president. Can send an email with your material and can say, "This is my name. May I apply, please? Or may I present myself? Can I maybe observe a rehearsal?" And I think that there's always an openness towards this. Of course, if there's no response, then sometimes that means there's no interest, or there's already like the places are filled up. But it's always important to try.
Yeah, did you do that personally? Did you do that?
I sent my videos to my agent, and then my agent forwarded it because I mean I had a very genuine interest in both Gustavo and Andres. I think it starts with that. I mean, I saw the institutions, of course, but I did never hear the Boston Symphony Orchestra live or Los Angeles live. But
oh, really? Cool.
No, because I hadn't gone to Los Angeles or Boston before in my life, so I heard rehearsals on YouTube or recordings, and of course I liked the sound, but what really fascinated me was Gustavo's and Andres' personality.
Yeah.
Their humanity.
Huge personalities.
Their leadership, their kindness.
Yeah.
And I just thought, wow. I remember talking to the agents and telling them, well, I would love to learn from him. I would love to observe him, to see how he how he feels music, how he navigates this industry. Yeah. I felt very close to them, and there are so many others, of course, also that I still feel like, wow, how do they study the score? How do they, feel the music and musicians? So, with Boston, it does not work only through the video. The video is the first thing. You also have to audition. You get invited, 4 people get invited, and then you conduct for 25 minutes.
It's a long time.
Yeah. I conducted the beginning of Beethoven 5.
Oh man, so difficult.
The beginning of Brahms' Third Symphony, Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto, and what was it? Debussy La Mer, second movement.
Beautiful, yeah.
Ending. And well, I actually auditioned 2 times. One can say that. Juilliard knows that because I also organized a little student group at Juilliard to prepare for that audition.
That's amazing.
And the first year would have been, I already had the Dudamel Fellowship, and I also wanted to do Boston immediately. And I became second place in that audition. Yeah. And because I had some less votings of the orchestra members. But they said, please come back next year. So first you do the Dudamel Fellowship, and then we do the audition again, but we would love to see you again.
It worked beautifully.
Yeah, so it was the perfect thing, because I had 1 more year to develop and to learn from Los Angeles, to be really present in Los Angeles and not to have to go back and forth. And I'm so grateful that I'm in Boston now. It's a wonderful city full of knowledge and depth, and I have new friends from Harvard, from MIT.
Amazing, yeah.
And
Boston is an amazing city.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's, as I said, like so much interest in culture and art, and and I'm thankful to learn from all the musicians in the orchestra, to learn from the administration, how an institution becomes strong and healthy, how to lead an institution that big into the future.
Absolutely. And hey, you said something about your auditions. You said that you prepared Beethoven's Fifth. If possible, would you be able to tell us, to give a tip on how to conduct a famous opening? Because I know that for conductors, it's a really hard thing to conduct. So I would love to get a little bit taste of.
Well,
that's it.
My advice: don't be afraid.
Oh, good.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah,
it's like entering a zoo
Yeah.
full of animals, but you're also an animal, right? So it's like maybe in a way you have to become part of that ocean,
Yeah.
become part of that element. Is it fire? Is it air? Is it water? Is it, like, but you or earth, but you enter that field
Yeah.
and swim with it, live with it. Don't be afraid of it. That's number one.
Number one. Yep.
And then second, I mean, on a more technical level,
Please. Yeah.
it starts with a silence. It starts with a rest, right? So as we said, we energize the silence.
Ah, that's cool. That's cool. Uh-huh.
So there must be an energy, like an eruption, kind of like an explosion that symbolizes this is the starting energy from where everything else follows. It's like a domino effect. So if we start really with the pa 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 pa, like we really know, like, okay, this is preparing, energizing the silence. Now, like we really know, like pa 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 pi, and then you can think about how do you want to shape the fermatas?
Yeah.
Do you want the fermatas to have a crescendo, or do you want them to be like something that just like dissolves at the end? I think that the first fermata should definitely be sustained, and the second then can be less.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that it's a strong string sound, but they're only the clarinets doubling the strings because they can morph into the string sound. I think the best.
It's hard to pick them out, to know that there is not only strings.
It's not exactly, but that's, I think, intentional, because if you would have used oboes or
you can
or
hear
horns,
it clearly. Yeah.
exactly, you would have distinguished it. But it really sounds like a string sound, like but there's no timpani, there's no horns, no trumpets.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to you? So I think it's strength, but it's not brutality.
Strength, but not brutality.
Yeah, exactly. And
how did you do it during your audition, the opening?
Well, it went very, very well, I think. Well, at least they I would say what I heard inside and what I heard outside became one.
And you got the gig too. So that's a very good clue as to how it went.
I would say so.
And so do assistant conductors just stay with the orchestra for a year? Does it for one
two
season?
seasons. Sometimes they extend for a third season, depending on where you are in your development, what you think helps you. And of course, I mean, it's a beautiful thing to be part of a family. That's also what I'm looking forward to in Berlin. You get to know the humans behind the instruments.
Yeah, because now next stop is going to be Berlin Philharmonic. You're going to conduct the brass and some of the musicians, which is, I guess, that's a first step towards conducting the orchestra.
Exactly. Yeah, you make your small connections, like working with the principal players of the BS or with New York Philharmonic or doing chamber music with some people, getting to know them also as a performer, as a human, and so on. And you find common ground. And then it's like, okay, I'm younger, of course, in many cases. I'm maybe doing these pieces for the first time. You're doing this for many times, but with all the time I had on this planet and with all the seriousness, I try to know as much as I can about this piece.
Absolutely.
With the time I have. And I want to share my understanding and my feeling for this music with you. And the musicians get a feeling for my perspective. And sometimes that's interesting because, right, when you have given up on love and you see someone who is freshly in love or experiences something for the first time, exactly. You have compassion, but at the same time you're like, wow. Or it's like when you see a baby, right? When I see babies, I see kindness, I see hope, I see purity.
Yeah.
Veo algo divino, no? Something that is still untouched and so pure. And I have hope because I see that everybody comes to the world with, with good intentions.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and that's how I try to be. Like, of course, I'm younger, of course, but I come with good intentions.
Yes.
And I come to share all my love for this music. And
that's great. And hey, what's your dream piece to conduct?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm discovering still so many new pieces, but I think Poème de l'Extase by Scriabin, Daphnis and Chloe.
Oh, I love that piece so much.
Yeah,
so rich.
Yeah, Shostakovich 11 is something that is very, very present in my head. Cité Noire by John Adams. I'm going to conduct a lot of John Williams next year, so I'm looking forward.
Tell me about how's the John Williams thing going?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Well, I cannot talk too much about it yet.
Absolutely,
because but
it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Congratulations. Yes, and now going to the last part of the interview, I would like to talk about the future of music. One may think that with conductors that you don't really have to worry about AI. But I would love to hear your perspective. Where do you think music is heading, and what are you doing to prepare for all the changes that are imminent and are unescapable for everyone?
Well, innovation begins with the willingness to stay open, to find new paths, and to think about the future in an open way, which means who are we not yet reaching? Why is that? Who doesn't feel included? And how can we change that? Where are the listeners today? What's our listening group, right? And curiosity is so important for us as artists. We see this world through our eyes, we perceive it, and then we translate it into art. So sharing this translation, sharing this perception of the world, we want to reach as many people as possible. And I personally believe that AI, artificial intelligence, is something irreversible now, right?
Yeah.
Like, we won't go back to horse riding. We won't go back to crossing the ocean on a ship.
Yeah.
We need to live with it.
Yeah.
We want to live with it. And we want to be part of the process. Like, I want to be part of a process. I don't want to be left out and then have to deal with the consequence. So that's why I'm super interested in collaborating with people from, for example, the MIT Media Lab in Boston, who are searching for ways to make music with AI, for example, or develop a stronger inner hearing or perception. Like, what's happening in this piece of music while we're listening? How can AI maybe help us to discover the enigma or the riddle that is inside of every piece? AI can now listen in real time, which means it can decode things. It can see, oh, there's a harmony change. Oh, there's a rhythmical pattern that is repeating. Oh, this is a deceptive cadence, So all of these things, which I think are so beautiful, because as one of my mentors and teachers in Munich said, only the one who expects can be surprised.
Wow.
Which means if I expect something musically to happen and then it doesn't happen, well, that's a window of opportunity for me as a composer to connect with the audience. It's like everything was going well. Oh, no. Suddenly something happened.
Yeah. Plot twist.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm so curious, and I want to stay open to whatever happens. If I can create immersive experiences, if I...
You're totally open to it.
Totally open, and I want to be a music director in the near future that attracts curiosity in scientists to come collaborate with us and create new concert experiences. I want to...
That's amazing. Yeah. And sounds like you're a lot more positive about AI than suspicious or concerned. And that's something I appreciate, because whenever I talk with musicians, there's a lot of concern about, oh, they're going to be taking our jobs. But I think that's a very superficial stance to take.
I mean, I wanted to ask you about this as a composer, because I mean, it does affect you, right? I mean, it could take away some work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for composers, I'd like to think of it as a tool. It's simply a new tool that it's at our disposal.
Right.
And it's our responsibility to do good things with it.
Right.
You know, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
So now everyone, in terms of everyone is now being handed tools that can make anyone a composer.
Right.
Now, any person just with a prompt, with a few words, can create a sound recording. That's a lot of power. I'm not concerned about whether or not that will take jobs from me. I'm more concerned about how am I going to make things that are even more genuine, because everyone's going to be using AI in a similar way.
Right.
As a composer, I need to think of different ways of using it.
Right.
And ignoring it is not the answer. Running away from it is simply not a solution. You have to be as creative as you can, because, you know, we're artists. We're supposed to be creative. And as you said, it's all about plot twists. Life is all about plot twists, and you never know how things are going to be changing. So our responsibility as musicians of a really high caliber, and, you know, who are doing really important things, we need to be very brave in this time of uncertainty. My attitude is positive. It's like of excitement,
right,
rather than worrying.
I love that.
Yeah, you can't worry your way out of something as difficult as, you know, the whole paradigm changing.
No, and that's the whole thing about survival. No, adaptation, but also shaping the circumstances instead of letting the circumstance shape you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what character is. There's an old saying that says that life is 20% what happens to you and 80% how you react to it.
Right.
And AI is happening to all of us. So depending on how you react to it, will ensure whether you thrive or you just get locked away in stone age.
Exactly.
You know?
It can give you so much time that you can use for other things.
Absolutely.
Because it can help us in daily life. And I'm convinced that there will be an AI soon, a robot that will help us do the dishes, that will help us do in daily things.
Yeah.
Of course, people criticize, why is it writing poems instead of helping with the dishes?
Yeah.
It will come, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And as you said, make the best out of it. Yeah.
That's amazing. And now let's start to close up.
Right.
We've had a really wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed having you as a guest. You're a really, really interesting artist. You know, I can't wait for this podcast to be out. Really, it's really, really interesting. But I would like to ask something a little bit more personal. I would like for you to picture yourself as a young musician, and, you know, with all your experience that you've amassed throughout your life, what is something that you would say to yourself, you know, when you were younger? Yeah, it's either that or, you know, what advice you have for younger musicians who are wanting to catch up with someone like you who already has a great career.
Oh, thank you. Well, there will always be people who believe in you, and there will be people who cannot see your light. And you have to stay in the light.
Yeah.
You have to not ever let the darkness consume you.
Yeah.
It's so important to find the light in other people, inside of you, and finding your inner strength, your true values, staying true to them, and also understanding that there will be scars that you have to live with. There will be words that a teacher told you that will stick with you. A judgment. Sometimes something that he didn't even perceive as something meaningful or hurtful, but it entered you.
Yeah.
You let it enter you because you didn't have the shield.
Yeah.
But if your love for music is genuine, if your love for art, like this religion, no? If this is pure and your dedication, your belief is pure, then music needs you.
Oh, I love that. Music needs you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's an amazing closing thought. And just last question, you have some new projects coming up. Is there anything in particular you would like to tell your audience to look out for? You know, what are you most excited about, you know, in the next few months?
Thank you so much. If people are in Germany, and then they are more than welcome to come to concerts in Bremen, Dortmund, or in Dresden at the Semperoper, with the Berlin Philharmonic Brass in June, or in Oviedo in Spain. I'm
Beautiful.
conducting a concert too in June. And then, of course, September on Berlin. But here in the US, I'm immensely excited about the Hollywood Bowl concert on July 31st.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, music, a new piece by Junike Tanzil, a concerto for flute and harp by Mozart.
I love that one. Yeah.
Ja, Also sprach Zarathustra from Richard Strauss.
Also known as the famous piece from
Space
2001 Space Odyssey.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we might have a little encore there too.
Amazing. Can't wait.
And then, Tanglewood in Boston, Tanglewood debut on August 16th with music by Brahms, Schumann, and Tchaikovsky. And so, there are things that I'm so thankful for, and that I will prepare with all my energy.
Well, we can't wait to see what you do next. And I think I can speak for everyone, you know, watching that. We're all very excited for you, and we always wish you the best. And
thank you so much.
Never forget what you just told me. Music needs you, Ana. Music needs you, Ana Hanna.
Gracias, mi querido.
So keep making music.
Music needs you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We need you.
Well, thank you. So keep up the great work, and thank you so much for coming to Flare Podcast. It was a delight having you here.
Thank you, Horacio. Mucho gusto y hasta la próxima.
Hasta la próxima, Ana. Hasta luego.
Chao.
Gracias. Ok, entonces para los latinos o hispanos que nos estén escuchando, tenemos en exclusiva Ana Handler hablando en español. Y pues queríamos discutir algo en otro de sus idiomas, que también es muy importante para ella. Y pues igual, tremendo. O sea, realmente esto es una gran señal de que a Ana realmente le importa comunicar con la gente. Y qué cosa más personal que hablar tu propio idioma, ¿no? Así que tú quieres hablar un poquito sobre humanidad, sobre el rol que tiene Latinoamérica y pues esa parte de ti en tu música.
Sí.
Así que cuéntanos un poco sobre esa parte latina.
Sí, la influencia colombiana fue muy, muy importante para mi desarrollo como artista, como ser humano. ¿Qué significa ser humano? ¿Cómo se encuentra esta respuesta? ¿Y cómo se vive como artista en nuestra sociedad? ¿Cuáles son nuestras tareas y obligaciones también como artista, ¿no? Ver el mundo, compartir los sentimientos profundos y entender que abrir a las almas de los músicos al fin es lo que importa, ¿no?
Claro.
Para que salga algo profundo de adentro, algo honesto, algo que toque a las otras personas, hay que abrirse uno mismo. Yo tengo que ser vulnerable antes de los músicos. También tengo que abrirme completamente, ¿no?
Claro.
Y también es algo muy interesante para mí, ¿qué es resonancia? ¿Qué es música?
Sí.
¿Es música el papel, la partitura? ¿O es música algo que solo existe cuando lo escuchas?
Claro.
Sí, y resonancia existe entre los músicos y el público, ¿no? El público que escucha, pero también el músico que siente toda la atmósfera en el público.
Claro.
Y bueno, todo eso son preguntas que hay que preguntarse para madurar como artista y como líder. ¿Ya?
Claro. Y oye, tú has dirigido orquestas en Latinoamérica, ¿no?
Sí.
Yo te vi en México una vez. ¿Cómo fue esa experiencia? ¿Cómo ¿Cómo
me encantó
reaccionó?
y me hubiera gustado regresar ahora en junio. Tuve invitación de la OFUNAM y también en Chile, pero al fin, ahora con la nueva posición en Berlín, lastimosamente tuve que encontrar otra fecha. Pero sí, me encanta hacer música con los artistas de Sudamérica. Tienen mucho talento y muchas ganas, y tengo colegas increíbles de Colombia, de Chile, de Costa Rica, de México, directores y directoras tremendos.
¿Tienes muchos amigos latinos?
Sí.
Como Héctor Noriega.
Exacto,
buen
Héctor
amigo.
Noriega y también mi colega de dirección, Dainea Tafur Díaz, peruano,
Órale.
que es ahora asistente con los Filarmónicos en Berlín.
Wow.
Entonces es gran talento.
Mucho talento. Claro.
Sí, mucho talento, mucho trabajo, mucha disciplina y bueno, y veo mucho coraje, veo al director colombiano Andrés Orozco Estrada,
Claro.
que está a nivel mundial,
Claro.
que también va a dirigir el BSO este verano en Tanglewood. Y bueno, me alegro muchísimo que después pues con Gustavo inició ese movimiento. Que ya el talento sudamericano es tremendo,
Está
¿no?
tremendo,
está
claro.
tremendo y está muy presente en el mundial y
sí, claro.
yo digo que es como en el fútbol, ¿no?
Exacto, eso iba a decir.
Talento en todas partes y lo que importa es la personalidad, no el género,
Claro.
no de dónde vienes, es tu alma, es tu personalidad y tu
Claro.
attunement, tu sensibilidad.
Y pues qué chingón también que seas parte de eso, porque vas a ver que los latinos te van a amar mucho siempre. Siempre te van a aplaudir mucho, digan, eres colombiana, sí, siempre te lo van a, siempre lo van a aplaudir mucho y pues siempre es un honor que nos esté representando también.
Muchas gracias. No, y es un honor de ser parte de una cultura tan interesante y
Claro.
gente con tanto corazón, tanta sensibilidad por
Increíble.
ser humano.
Sí. Y oye, ya última pregunta. ¿Cuál es tu comida favorita latina? Tacos, arepas, ¿qué te gusta?
La bandeja paisa.
Órale.
Mi mamá es de Manizales. Sí, y allá se come, bueno, los frijoles con arroz y patacón, chicharrón, sí, aguacate.
Qué chingonada.
Ya, sí, arepas.
Qué chingonada, sí.
Claro, bueno.
Pues ojalá nos vemos pronto en Colombia y nos echamos unas arepas, ¿va?
Sí.
Bueno, pues qué chingón. Y gracias por hacer este pequeño especial en español con Anna Handler.
Bueno, muchas gracias por escuchar y por apoyar. Hasta la próxima.
Hasta la próxima. Y muchas gracias por venir a Flair Podcast.
Gracias.
Realmente siempre tienes la puerta abierta aquí el podcast cuando quieras hablar. Realmente un gustazo.
Gracias,
nos vemos
querido.
Gracias.
Chao.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Chao.